In today's video, we're going to go over military tactics and how it can help you in game. I'm getting way too into this, I do apologise, but this is going to be a pretty poor example, so bear with me. We are going to use red for our enemy, and we're just going to mark some enemy on this lovely bit of Microsoft Paint. So the red X's are the enemy. Boom, done. They're also going to be in a trench, which is going to look nothing like an absolute poo cloud. It's clearly 100% accurate trench. At the bottom, we're going to have friendly forces protected by a bund line, B-U-N-D, built up natural defense. It's going to be denoted by this blue line. Friendly forces are blue, not green. Green is infantry. We are then going to have two snipers, which are going to be denoted by my 100% awesome arrows. We are not going to talk about how they look like weird lopsided houses with no walls. We're then going to use green because green represents good. And then finally, for our next and last supporting element to our attack force are going to be those pesky gunners who, love them or hate them, they come in handy in a pinch. Now, the way in which military tactics will work with this is we need to get our green guys to the red guys. The gunners and the snipers can stay where they are, but so the gunners are going to do what's called arcs of suppressing fire, which basically means in between those two black lines is fair game. But we need to get our green guys to the red guys. How do we do it? Now, a lot of you are probably just thinking this: green guys just go forward and head them off there. Although this is a viable option, it is also a very good way to potentially get your own men killed, simply just because the gunners are still firing. You need to keep those enemies' heads down while your men move in. What actually happens is this: the gunners will start firing off to one side, it's called switch fire, while your men will literally circle around and go from the other side that the gunners are not shooting at. And any enemy that is too stupid enough to stick their heads up gets a one-way ticket home. So, what does any of this have to do with The Division? Why am I talking military tactics in The Division? Well, it's actually a lot more simple than thinking military tactics. It's understanding and knowing what other players are capable of within the confines of what build they are running. The gunners are going to be suppressive fire, long range, not very accurate, but are able to do a great deal of damage if they hit. Snipers are basically the exact opposite, very few bullets down range, but if they will hit. Absolutely effective. One shot, one kill. Infantry are going to be the bulk force that allow you to get your DPS out, as well as capture and push objectives. They know what each other are capable of. They trust each other to do that very specific thing, so they're able to work as a single cohesive unit and work brilliantly effectively under some of the worst conditions in the world. How this translates to Division is, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, if you're in a team and someone's running a mortar build, and you decide to play Headhunter, you're the idiot, because there's no way you're hitting a damn thing. This game has some weird and wafty mechanics that may or may not work. You might not just be happy with how some things work. I know a lot of people don't like mortar builds because of the screen shake. You don't have to deal with the screen shake if you play just the normal DPS build and then just sit back a bit. You don't have to deal with the screen shake if you play a CC build, so that the player using the mortar is able to get more consistent damage out because they're not running away. You don't have to deal with the screen shake if you play as a healer. If you're in a group that is running mortars and you decide, yeah, I'll be a tank, and just go barging in, trying to tank everything, and then you're getting pissed off with all of the screen shake because you're essentially in the middle of the mortar hit zone, this is 100% on you. If you're in a group where everyone is playing LMGs and you decide to headhunt and then you get annoyed because everything is suppressed, this is 100% on you. Now, I'm a bit weird with this, just because typically if I am playing in a group, there's be like one other or two others where they're in my squad, they're in my chat, I'm playing with them, I'm verbally communicating with them, etc, etc. But if we matchmake for two or one other player and they join, I will inspect their build to see if what I'm running will work with what they are running. Because I know it's going to be easier and a lot simpler for me to switch build than it is trying to communicate with someone who clearly doesn't care about them switching build, because it's not going to work with what we're running. So I will inspect the player's build, not to gripe or moan or be an elitist prick, but I want to ensure that what I'm running does work with them. A lot of people seem to think that everything works with everything. This is completely not true. I have been a DPS in a group that was solely comprised of skill build players. Being the only DPS is a very, very quick way to get yourself killed on repeat, along with the fact that missions go from taking 10 to 15 minutes to taking a bloody hour. So now what I do is, if I'm deciding to match make and I join a group and it's 3 skill build players, I will play a healer. I will play some form of buff support. Could be tempted to play a CC, but quite frankly skill builds do not kill quick enough to make use of a CC player. If I join a group and I see headhunters, I will probably play CC. If I join a group and we've got 3 DPS players, I'll probably play CC, healer, some form of buff support, or I might actually stretch to playing some form of weird skill build to lay down individual fire at certain points when the other DPS players feel the need to push. Not everything works together, and from playing a lot of matchmaking lately, it is very clear that people really do not grasp this concept. I once joined a group that was a turret and drone player, a mortar build player and a tank. They struggled to get through heroic DUA. I've joined a group in Legendary Capital that were weirdly all playing Hunter's Fury shotgun builds. Good luck with that, getting through the first part. Needless to say, we actually didn't. You're not going to be able to close the gap on legendary enemies completely out in the open with absolutely zero cover, because that's the big problem with Legendary Capital. The first part has literally very minimal cover, and they were trying to run up to them with a shotgun. This is not going to go well. If you're running a run and gun build in multiplayer without a CC, good luck. The simple premise is, look at what each other are using. Even when I play with the bros and we do clan runs, whether it be Countdown, Summit, or even just doing random missions, we all say, I can play support if you want to play XYZ, or I can do DPS if you want to do this, or whatever. It's one of the reasons we have a variety of different builds on several different characters, so that if these situations do come up, we can cover each other's weaknesses. And that is what it is all about. Having a single DPS player in multiplayer, even in heroic, is typically a really bad idea. Simply just because they alone will not do the DPS to cover 4-player scaling on heroic. Having 4 skill builds in 4-playing heroic is typically a really bad idea. DPS players will always do more DPS than a skill build, mainly just because they have direct control over where their DPS is going, whereas skill builds you can't. Even if you are a completely control freak, anal skill build player and you 100% always control where your mortar, turret, drone, firefly, etc are going, there is going to be 1, downtime, 2, your turret cannot always shoot a target because your turret is stationary and enemies do this really awesome thing called moving. So I propose next time you go into matchmaking, have a look at the other players' builds, get them to look at you and offer suggestions. Talk to each other. I'm aware there's language barriers, but try. If they don't understand, just see, okay, I'm playing with 3 headhunters, I've got a CC build. Have fun, good luck, don't die, it's bad for the health.